Lions fans, the day we've been waiting for nearly the last 2 weeks has finally come to pass. Brad Holmes has officially made a trade for Za'Darius Smith, but the trade is even better than what I would have even imagined for. We're going to talk about it, so stay tuned.
What are we? What makes us what we are and what we're going to be? It's grit. It's what we started with last year, guys. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
Can definitely compete with the big dogs.
10-5 end zone touchdown Detroit Lions.
You guys are unbelievable, man. I'm telling you.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions friends and family members. Welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike. And as always, we're diving on in. Yes, my friends, it is official. Yes, I can officially say this because I always wait until it's confirmed. And I wish I would have had the chance to do this earlier in the day, but I was at work, so I'm doing this during my lunch break. But the Lions have officially made the trade with the Cleveland Browns to acquire Za'Darius Smith, their edge rusher, former All-Pro edge rusher, I might add, for the Lions giving up a 2025 fifth-round draft pick and a 2026 sixth-round draft pick. And obviously, the Lions will get Za'Darius Smith in return, but they will also get a seventh-round draft pick, if I recall correctly, in 2026. So, that right there is the terms and conditions of the trade. I'm going to tell you this right now. As I said in my episode yesterday about the Lions being expected to trade for Za'Darius Smith, I said a lot of what is going to make this trade either look good or bad is going to be what the actual, terms of the deal are. What is the actual compensation? Now, I was under the impression that, hey, you know what? We would probably have to give up a fifth or sixth, maybe both, and obviously we would get Za'Darius Smith. But what I didn't expect was that Brad Holmes was going to somehow work in there, not only getting Za'Darius Smith, but also getting a low-round draft pick as well. So it's like, okay, here, we got 2 things out of it, while the Browns also got 2 things out of it. And let's just call it for what it is. Za'Darius Smith is a still damn good edge rusher. I don't care what anyone wants to say about the fact of, he's 32, he's got this, he's got that. Let's understand the situation for what it is, folks. Za'Darius Smith, with the Browns, has 5 sacks this year. He's winning his pass rushing sets, according to PFF, 19.1% of the time, last I checked. Okay, folks, that is pretty damn good. That is like, if I recall correctly, I think it's ranked 12th, so just outside of top 10, but it's still top 15. So, okay, we just traded for a guy who is a former All-Pro edge rusher, who is still playing at a predictably high level, at least for the next year or 2, and we just got him for a 5th and a 6th round draft pick. Okay, this is why I have my title the way I have it. Brad Holmes quite literally just fleeced the Browns. Because let's think about this, folks. The reason why I say fleece the Browns is because the Browns, under any other normal circumstance, would not have traded Za'Darius Smith for so little. And the reason why they wouldn't have traded him for so little is, well, 1, he's still producing at a very good level, and 2, he still has a good amount of value to him. But you can't really do a whole lot when you are freaking, 2-7, 2-6, whatever the hell their record is. The Browns' season's done. They know it's done. At this point, all they can do is look forward to when they can get into the offseason to try and start using some draft capital and try and using some cap space to rebuild the roster. So at this point, because their record is so bad and everybody knows it, they can't help but sell low. They have to sell low because nobody's going to play with them as far as, we're willing to give you more for, the fact that you guys are actually, somewhat decent. You guys might not be so inclined to sell here. But that's not the case with the Browns. The Browns have no choice but to sell if they're going to trade. So Brad Holmes, knowing this, obviously went over to them and said, hey, you guys are trying to trim some fat off your guys' roster. You guys are trying to get some draft capital because your season's done. Everybody knows it's done. We have a clear needed edge rusher here. I'm willing to trade XYZ to get, Za'Darius Smith. Now, as we already know, the Lions have been talking with the frickin' Browns for, probably, I think, at least 2 or 3 weeks. At least ever since frickin' Hutch got injured. So you want to know what that tells me? Is that the Browns wanted to wait and they wanted to hold out, hoping, praying that somehow their record would probably get better, so that way they could probably, raise the asking price a little bit. But with every single loss that they had, it only made things worse. Again, I'd be willing to bet that had Brad Holmes made the trade back about a week or two ago, maybe even at the very beginning when we lost Hutch, we probably would be dealing closer to maybe a 4th and a 5th round draft pick. So because Brad Holmes understood, hey, these guys are trying to price gouge me a little bit right now. If I just hold my cards a little bit, if I just wait, have a little bit of patience here, I can get this for a better deal. And wouldn't you know it, freaking that's exactly what happened. Now, I'm not saying that, Brad Holmes put all of his eggs in one basket and just banked on Za'Darius Smith. We obviously know they've reached out to other teams prior to this. They obviously talked to the Raiders about Max Crosby. They obviously talked to other teams about their edge rushers. But let's just call it for what it is here. Out of all the potential edge rushers that could have been made available for the Lions at this point, Myles Garrett was not going to happen because the Browns had no interest in trading him. Max Crosby was not going to happen because the Raiders had made it abundantly clear they had no interest in trading him. And then, the only other guy after those two that really had any sort of value for the Lions would have been Trey Hendrickson. The problem is that the Bengals have now brought their record back up to almost 500. So at this point, they're not inclined to sell. They're willing to say, okay, we're now turning our season around. We need to make sure that we have the resources necessary to make a playoff push if necessary. So it's like, okay here, let's understand the situation then for what it is. Za'Darius Smith was not only the best possible guy we could get, not only from terms of a talent perspective, but he was probably also the right guy to get. If you think about it, take a look at every single other guy that I just mentioned. Hendrickson, Crosby, Garrett. Every single one of those guys have massive deals. And while that's not necessarily an issue, the problem is that it's going to become an issue. Because at some point, the Lions are going to have to pay that money out to said player. Well, they still got to feed their other players. They still got to feed Hutchinson himself. They've still got to feed J-Mo. They've got all these other guys that they have to take care of. Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, Sam Laporta. They've got to pay these guys. So I understand the allure for Lions fans wanting Trey Hendrickson, wanting Max Crosby, wanting Myles Garrett. I was on the Hendrickson train for quite a while. But I absolutely had no problem with also considering frickin' Za'Darius Smith because it's like, hey, this guy is still a very good player. I know some people are concerned about his injury history, but it's like, understand something, folks. Other than that 2001 season, I think every season since 2019, he's played virtually the entire year. All 16 games, up until obviously we went to 17. So it's like, okay, durability-wise, he's fine. I've already made it abundantly clear he's still playing at a high level. You're winning 19% of your pass rushing sets. That's almost 20%, folks. That's still pretty damn good. Like I said, when you're ranked 12th, you are still a very good, effective pass rusher. And then on top of that, let's just put this in the true perspective of why Brad Holmes actually fleeced the damn Browns. I remember very distinctly when the Browns had Myles Garrett and then they freaking got their hands on Za'Darius Smith. Everybody in the NFL went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs because they're like, oh man, having Za'Darius Smith and Myles Garrett, that's going to be a freaking pass rushing tandem, just absolutely crazy. Okay, here. Imagine that perspective now when you get a fully healthy, freaking hungry, freaking determined to prove doubters wrong that he might not be able to come back, Aiden Hutchinson. That guy is going to be playing with a whole lot of freaking piss and vinegar, a whole lot of rage, and it's going to be focused rage. It's going to be focused, pent-up fury on wanting to come back and absolutely dominate people. And you still got Za'Darius Smith on the other side, who is still playing at a pretty damn high level himself. Let's call it for what it is, folks. This is the perfect setup for what we've been wanting on our defense. We already know the interior defensive line is set up perfectly. We've got freaking, DJ Reader. We've got Aleem McNeil. We freaking have also other guys like Levi Onwuzurike. We have Broderick Martin who's still developing. I mean, we got plenty of interior defensive linemen. But now we have Za'Darius Smith. He's going to come in and he's going to play for us. Now, whether or not he plays this week, I doubt, because it is Tuesday and the Lions play on Sunday against the Texans. Even though that's going to be at freaking 8 o'clock at night, I don't know if that's going to be enough time for Za'Darius Smith to get even close to acclimated or feel comfortable trying to get ready to play. So maybe we might not see Za'Darius Smith this week. But I would have no doubt that we probably will see him the week after this one. But my whole point is this. You now have up front for the next year and a half at the bare minimum, you have Za'Darius Smith, you have Aleem McNeil, you have freaking DJ Reader, and you have Aiden Hutchinson. Now, that is a freaking formidable front four. I don't know of a front four that is more formidable than that. And then, I know some people are going to be like, well, David, obviously Aiden Hutchinson's not playing yet. Yet is the key word. I'm going to say this right now. There's a reason why my thumbnail image is the way it is. When you make a trade like this, that's the NFL being put on notice. That's the NFL knowing, okay, the Lions are fully committed. They are fully invested to, making this a Super Bowl run. And here's the thing. We already were considered the NFC favorite to go to the Super Bowl. At this point, I don't even think it's a question. I don't think there's anybody in the NFC that can come close to us. Because the defense was the one area where it was like, okay, we have a massive hole we got to fix. We just fixed it. We just plugged it. Okay, so now that that's taken care of, we get all the way to the Super Bowl. What was the report when freaking Hutchinson got injured? The report was that at the best optimistic point, there was a chance, 50-50 chance, that he could be back in time for the Super Bowl. I'm telling you this right now. If I was Hutchinson, this news of the trade for Za'Darius Smith would make me more motivated than ever to take my rehab to get back so that way we can get to the Super Bowl. I already know people are putting out stuff on the internet about, hey, do it for Hutch, win it for Hutch. I'm telling you this right now. If we get to the Super Bowl, Hutch is going to be in the Super Bowl. And then we're going to get to see Hutch and Za'Darius Smith together doing their thing. That's why I'm saying Brad Holmes fleeced the freaking Browns, because he just got himself a tandem that is going to absolutely dominate opponents. And again, we saw what Aiden Hutchinson was able to do just on his own with the rest of the defense that we had. Now, I'm not saying Za'Darius Smith is Hutch. He's not even close. But Za'Darius Smith is better than Marcus Davenport by a good damn stretch. And he's more durable than him. So, okay, we have a pretty damn good edge rusher now in Za'Darius Smith, and we still have a very formidable front four, front seven defense. That should enable us to get more pressure on quarterbacks, allow us to get sacks, give our secondary a break so that way they don't have to cover for so long. This is what I'm talking about. This is perfect. This was Brad Holmes making the commitment to make sure that our team was in the best conditions, the best position to go and get to a Super Bowl. Now, that right there ought to not only excite everybody in the fan base for the Lions, but also, it, like I said, should put the rest of the NFL on notice, because when you make a trade like this, I don't care if it's just for a 5th or 6th round draft pick. Za'Darius Smith is a name-recognizable talent. He's a former All-Pro talent. This is a talent type of player. This is a talent type of trade that is going to get people's attention, and justifiably so. I'm telling you, folks, this is a trade that I believe is pretty much like, okay, we've gotten to the halfway point of the season. Now we're going to flip the page on the other half of the season, and now it's time to get our mind focused on, hey, get to the playoffs, win our playoff matches, get to the Super Bowl. That's literally now what we're doing. This trade is literally flipping the first half of the season and going into the second half. That's exactly what this is. And the full measure and intent is to get to a Super Bowl and to win a Super Bowl. I'm telling y'all, this is awesome news. It's awesome news in multiple facets. But having said that, I also know this. There is supposed rumors that is coming out that Brad Holmes might not yet be done. There's been reports that he's making telephone calls with the Saints, trying to inquire about one of their edge rushers. I can't remember the name of the guy right now, but I know he's a pretty damn good edge rusher. And considering the fact that the Saints are just as bad as the damn Browns are, and they just fired their head coach, leads me to believe that maybe Brad Holmes could pull off yet again some more magic. But we'll see how that happens. So having said that, I'm going to end this episode and say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode. Also encourage y'all to do one of these three things: like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If by chance you subscribed in the past and you forgot to do so at the time, I want to highly encourage y'all, please, make sure you hit that bell notification icon so that way you guys never miss any more content that I push out. And again, for everybody else, I encourage y'all, please, to subscribe. Also want to encourage y'all to share this content with your Lions friends and family members. Share it here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you possibly can. The more we can do that, the greater the channel can grow, the greater the channel can spread. And with that being said, whether you've been a long-time viewer or this is the first time you're viewing me, I hope y'all enjoyed the content and I hope y'all got something out of it. And I hope everybody out there has got something in their life that makes them happy, makes them smile. God bless, my friends. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.